about 8 years old, somebody made a really, really mean comment about somebody that I love very much. And I get goosebumps every single time that I have to relive this story. This comment was in regards to this person's weight and their size. And at that moment, I was 8 years old. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. So I didn't say nothing, and I went home. And I was in my room, and I thought to myself, gosh, you know, one, I'm only 8 years old. And I thought to myself, how can somebody have the nerve and the audacity to judge somebody because of their weight and because of their size? And it was at that moment, though, unconsciously, that I decided and made a commitment to dedicate my life to have a positive effect on this epidemic of obesity. And through the years, as I've established my career and my education, and I've observed and I've researched and I've asked questions, my passion only ignites even more now that we're faced with an epidemic of childhood obesity. And so now the stigma and the judgment that adults face are now being transferred onto our children. And the worst part is that the food industry targets our children. And that's why I just, unconsciously, I didn't know when I was 8 that I had made a decision to commit my life to doing this, but now that I look back, everything just makes sense. So today, I'm going to be sharing with you my vision for having a positive effect on the obesity epidemic. And I'm going to be sharing with you my mission on how I'm wanting to accomplish that. My name is Brenda Cias, and I have an MBA. I'm a certified health education specialist. I'm also a certified worksite wellness program manager. And in order to make my vision of having a positive effect on the epidemic of obesity, my mission is going to focus on 3 target areas. Number 1 is going to be you and me, all individuals. Number 2 is going to target on businesses, corporations, organizations. And number 3 is going to focus on our communities. By the end of my talk, I'm hoping that you'll be able to identify 1 or 2, or hopefully both, action items that you can incorporate to help me on my mission to have this positive effect on this obesity epidemic that affects all of us. So as individuals, I want to share with you just a story. I shared with you kind of what ignited my passion, and now as an individual, like Jose said, my life is my message. Everywhere that I go, I try as much as possible to practice what I preach. I have a 16-month-old son. From the minute he was born, I made decisions to impact his life at that moment. Everything that he eats, everything that he does, everything that he sees his parents do, is going to tell him how he should be living his life. Because I do not want him to be another statistic. And I want him to also empower his colleagues to do the same and to help create a better society for all of us. Also, I don't know if any of you have ever watched the documentary by Joe Cross, Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. He talks about how for 20 years he ate just processed food and didn't take care of himself. So he dedicated 2 years of his life to doing the complete opposite. He juiced. Every single meal was a juice. And he also ate some whole grains and nuts and seeds, but it was all plant-based foods. And he was able to save himself from dying because he was literally on just a laundry list of medications. And he was able to reverse his trend. And so in one of his talks, he talks about how there's 3 main categories of food. There's the plant-based, there's the meat, and then there's processed. So 95% of Americans consume their foods from the fun part of town, which is the meat and the processed. And only about 5 to 7% of foods are consumed from the plant-based. So how we can transfer that into individuals is begin to assess where you get your nutrients from. How much processed foods are in your pantry, or in your kitchen, or in your environment, and how much plant-based foods are you incorporating. And just start there. Just make a simple shift. It's baby steps. Also, taking the stairs versus the elevator. It's all simple things, but it's things that we can all do. And in terms of businesses, the second target that I'm targeting, I do this for a living today. I help corporations and businesses in San Diego to implement and support environments that support healthy workplaces. And a recent study published by the RAND Corporation indicated that across the United States, 50% of corporations and businesses have some kind of a wellness program in place. And so what that looks like is if your employer has healthy vending machine options, what do they offer in the cafeteria? Does leadership support wellness? Do they encourage walking breaks? And other employers go to the extent of offering on-site biometric screenings so that employees know what their cholesterol levels are, know what their blood pressure levels are, and also know what their weight. And then they also offer programs to help them either improve or modify their risk factors. Because not only is this going to impact the individual, but also the employer. Another interesting article that I was reading about indicates that now millennials are demanding to be happy in the workplace. And they want healthy alternatives. So what this does to the employers is now, because they want to attract and retain talent, they're now embracing this concept of wellness because it makes sense for everybody. And that is my mission in targeting with corporations, because we need to start with them, and then it's going to spiral down to our communities. Which leads me into my third concept in speaking about and targeting communities. So San Diego, we're just so blessed to live in such a thriving community where health is supported, but we need to do a little bit more. Attending farmers markets. Do you go to the grocery store and buy all of these processed foods? Because again, your dollars are going to speak to what you support. Are you supporting the Fruit Loops that has $1 million campaign that's targeting your children to buy these sugar-laden foods? So that's one way. Another article that I read on the San Diego Business Journal also talked about how millennials are willing to spend more money for organic and healthy options at restaurants. So now the food industry, the restaurant industry, is starting to adopt that concept and are offering healthier options. So what I ask you, again going back to us as individuals, is when you go to restaurants, restaurants nowadays all have healthy options. Pick that choice, because the more that you support that healthy options, the more that healthy options will become available to you and to all of us. To wrap this up, I started with sharing with you a very emotional story about how I got into this industry when I was 8 years old, and how it spiraled into me living this lifestyle and communicating my message in everything that I do. My work, my life, how I play, how I deal with my relationships. And also, I shared with you that just how there's racial judgment and stigma, there's also this stigma and judgment around obesity. And I just don't think that's fair, because as a society, healthy is not the easy choice. As a matter of fact, unhealthy is an easy choice. And that all needs to change, because we can all benefit from it. So I hope that you'll support me, and I hope that you've been able to identify how you as individuals can impact your workplaces and your communities, and so that together we can have a positive effect on this obesity epidemic. Thank you.